Hello and welcome to another Quickcrop video. Well, today we're in my polytunnel and we're having a look at the irrigation system that I've just installed. Now, all of the parts that we're going to be looking at today are available on our website, so when you understand my system, you can easily build one of your own. There are three main reasons to use an irrigation system. One is it saves you time, two, it's going to save you water, and three, it's good for plant growth. Now, time saving is obvious, I guess, because we don't need to wander around with a hose or a watering can. The reason we save water is that a dripper system is at soil level, so the roots are being watered directly, which means there's a lot less moisture being lost through evaporation. And if we use a timer on our system and we set the system to come on in the morning or in the evening time when the polytunnel isn't as hot, then again we're losing less water through evaporation. Now, even watering really is the key to good indoor plant growth. So once we have a system that we know is time to come on at regular points during the day, we know our plants are looked after. The other reason that I prefer the dripper system over an overhead sprinkler is that because we're watering the soil rather than the foliage of the plants, we're creating a less humid atmosphere in the tunnel, and this will help control fungal diseases like, say, for example, blight on my tomatoes here. Dripper systems do cost more to install in the beginning, but they are far more efficient, so will save you water and therefore are much more cost effective in the long term. Now, before we look at all the separate components, let's take a quick overview of the system so that we can understand how it works. And we're going to start with our tap outside. So if you'd like to follow me. Now, I've got an outside tap outside my polytunnel, and I just have one of these hose lock type connectors on it, and that means that I can push fit that on, and I want to connect a short length of garden hose. Now, if you are using a push fit connector like this, use a good one. This one actually has a lock function, so it can never come off. The problem is with the cheaper units, they can pop off, and this might happen when you're away on holiday, so your tap's going to be running and your plants aren't getting watered. So on the other end of our hose then, again, we have a hose lock type connector, and well, that's just a brass version of the hose lock, and that just clicks on like that. Now, this actually is one of the cheaper version ones. I'm going to replace that just for safety. The other end of the connector, it's a 3/4 inch thread, and that is screwed into what we call a male connector, and you'll see that on the website. And the male connector then allows us to connect to the correct 16mm pipe that's going to feed our irrigation system. So we can see then that we have our 16mm pipe coming in here. We can see I've got a valve and a timer here, and that's so that I can turn my system on and off automatically. And then the water is diverted then off to the various beds. Now, we do get asked a lot whether these systems are suitable for water butt, and the answer is not really, unless you have a very large water butt. If you do want to use one, I would definitely recommend putting in a filter at this point. They are available on the website, and that is going to stop any particles from blocking the valves in the dripper line. You're also going to need an electric pump because the whole system is going to need at least 2 bar of pressure to operate. I have 5 separate branches to my system here. I have one either side doing these long beds, and then I have the 3 beds running up the center of the tunnel. Each branch works in exactly the same way. We have our supply pipe coming in, and that's connected into 3 parallel dripper lines. Now, the timer controls the whole tunnel, but I can turn each bed on and off using this little inline valve here. I've already assembled 4 of these branch systems, and I've left the 5th one undone so that we can see the parts used and we can see how it all goes together. So if we trace our supply into the tunnel again, of course we're going past our valve and our timer is here. We have one section here going off to the right, and that's doing our long bed down the side of the tunnel, and then we're bringing a feed over here that's going to be doing our 3 beds up the center of the tunnel. Now, you'll notice all the pipe we're bringing water to the beds is black, and that's our supply pipe, and then our dripper pipe then is brown, and that's only going to be placed in the areas that we need irrigated. I've placed a T-piece on the left-hand supply pipe, and that is where I'm going to connect my piece of hose to do the long bed on the other side of the tunnel. I've already cut the pipe to fit onto the connector, and it's a simple push-fit system. Now, it can be a little bit of a tight squeeze to get it on, so to make it easier on yourself, if you dip the end of the pipe into some hot water, it's going to soften it up a little bit and make it a bit easier to fit. Make sure the collar is fitted over the pipe before you push it on. Once pushed completely home, screw on the collar to lock it tight. I'm over the other side of the tunnel now, and we need to get our new supply pipe up into our bed. Now, I could just sort of snake it up like that, but it looks kind of messy. So for neatness, I'm going to prefer to put a little elbow fitting on it. So I'm just going to need to cut the pipe to suit. Now, very easy cut just with a pair of secateurs. So give that a snip. And again, I'm just going to dip it in the water there just to soften it up a little bit before I fit it onto my connector. So I've attached an elbow there and a short length of pipe. And then I'm going to attach another elbow, tighten that up, and now we're facing neatly into the bed. We now have to connect up our dripper lines. Now, these are placed at 30 centimetres apart. This bed is just over 4 foot, so we're going to use 3, as we said. I've already laid 2, I just have 1 more to do, and we're going to do that now. So we're just going to pop down and start at the other end of the bed. I'm running the dripper line now the full length of the bed, and I am finishing here with a stop end, and that's to cap off the end of the pipe. It fits in exactly the same way as the others. All the fittings are the same. So I'm just threading it through my onions here now. And then to fix the pipe then onto the ground, then we're just using these click fit pegs here, and they simply push into the ground. I'm probably going to use maybe 5 or 6 of them on this line, which is about 6 meters long. We're back down the other end of the bed now, and what I've got to do is connect up my 3 brown dripper pipes. So we're going to use an elbow fitting here on the far pipe, and then we're going to use a T there to connect these 2 together, and then another T to connect those 2, and then that is going to bring us into our little elbow fitting, if you remember, that comes up into the bed. So I'm just going to go ahead and join those up now. So you can see the last thing I did there was put a valve onto the system, and as I said earlier, I like to have a valve on each one of my beds. But what's the reason for that? Well, you can see that this year I have my tomatoes and my cucumbers growing down my centre beds, and they need a lot of water, an awful lot more than the herbs or salads growing in the side beds. So I can now turn off my side beds for some of the watering cycles, so I'm not irrigating when it's not needed, and I can save a few pound on my water bill. Okay, we have everything connected up now, and we're going to have a look at the timer, and we're going to get the whole thing up and running. We use professional quality timers, and the reason is that the domestic versions, the same problem comes up again and again, and that is that the valve will leak into the control box, and that damages the electronics. It's finished, it just needs to be thrown out. The reason we like these Bacara units is, apart from the much higher build quality, you can see that the valve is totally separate from the control box, so you're never going to have that problem. These units are professional grade, and they're designed to give you many years of service. You're not going to have an issue with them. We can see that I've actually placed my valve on the ground here, and I've screwed my timer control onto the door frame of my polytunnel, but they can be fitted anywhere. You can put them vertically on the pipe coming down from your tap, really whatever is the most convenient for you. The timer can be set to come on for 1, 2 or 3 watering sessions on any given day. You can set it for the full 7 days, or you can have it set for specific days. Now in this case I'm going to set it to come on 3 times a day for 20 minutes per session, and that's because it's the most efficient cycle. Now the timer, I'm not going to set the whole thing now just to save time on the video. It does come with an instruction sheet. It's just a 2-sided sheet, and it'll take you about 5 minutes to set up, so really pretty simple. Okay, so that's our 3 run times set, but the next thing we need to do is just make sure that the system is all working correctly and we don't have any leaks. So you can manually turn it on by pressing set and plus at the same time, and you can turn it off again by pressing set and minus at the same time. So we're just going to do that now to turn it on. And we can hear the water starting to rush through the pipes there as the air is forced out. So all seems to be working. I'm just going to take a look around the tunnel and just check for any leaks and make sure all our connections are good. I have noticed in my little walk around that the drippers in my centre bed don't seem to be working. I got a bit of a fright there, but then of course I realised that I hadn't turned my valve on, so I'm going to do that now. And you can hear that satisfying rush of the water going through the pipes, just showing me that it's all working, so I'm delighted about that. The whole system is up and running and we don't have any leaks anywhere. That's me. I've got peace of mind now. I can go away for the weekend. I can go away for a week safe in the knowledge that 3 times a day, every day, my plants are going to be watered and they're all well looked after. And that's about it for the video as well. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you find it helpful. As with all our other Quickcrop videos, all the things you see on the video, apart from me, the pipes, the connectors, the pegs, everything, they're all available on our websites, quickcrop.ie and quickcrop.co.uk. I look forward to seeing you again in my polytunnel soon.